Hello there, this is Cookies, and today I wanted to kind of go over some of the pregame testing I did for Naggarond for this upcoming series. It's going to cover some expansion testing and some, I don't know, some build viability testing, I guess. So what we're going to do is first we're going to pull up some expansion testing. So this is full scales Naggarond trying to expand. Now in this particular map, it was a little awkward because now this is going to be a map nuke map, but I didn't feel like generating a map nuke map to test on. So it's going to be a little awkward because I'm just going to be kind of running around on a vanilla map, and sometimes you get these huge oceans, which can definitely limit expansion. But we went ahead and just kind of meandered around. I do put AIs when I do expansion testing just to show up and provide limits to what I'm doing. Force me to turn around because, I mean, that kind of stuff does happen in games. So this is testing full scales. Now, what's nice about full scales, you can afford more mages, you can get a fair amount of corsairs, you can afford to do some foreign rec. So in terms of stuff, on turn 12 we have 6 mages, which I think is okay for Naggarond year 1. You could also trade out those mages and do more Beastmasters and get a lot more chaff for a first war. We've got almost 200 Black Ark Corsairs, which is pretty good, along with a little bit of other stuff. So that's kind of, I think full scales is how Naggarond would like to play, ideally. Um, but you don't always get necessarily that opportunity. And for expansion, we did 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 16. 16 is a little slow, but it's probably okay. Naggarond, generally I've tested Corsair and done Corsair expansion. Now you might be able to do Dread Knight expansion, but you'd have to swap into that after already maybe getting halfway through expansion because they just cost so many resources. So unless you want to take production 2, which I generally don't think you want to take on Naggarond, because every time you take over a province, it sends resources back to a fort. So most of your forts are going to have tons of resources anyways. You can see here, still got 210. These guys cost 26. These cost 15. So you're going to have a lot of resources. It's just not going to show up at the beginning of expansion. So production points aren't my favorite. But I think it helps to have one just to help with putting out the initial party or two to get the ball rolling. So you can see we got attacked by trogs here. So would have done a little bit better, and we've also got a fort up, which is nice. So that's one expansion test. Let me go ahead and pull up another. All right, so I've got another one here, and it looks like I'm already doing some fighting. But expansion went a little bit better here. We didn't spawn on an ocean, so we got to use our coastal sailing to expand around a lake. And we were able to push up a river and do some expansion that way. Looks like we got into Middenheim's cap circle for an AI. So this expansion went pretty well. For this one, what are we running for a bless? We're doing invulnerability and undying. Invulnerability makes expansion a lot easier for Naggarond because you can get executioners. And then with invulnerability, I wonder, you can kind of see what their effective protection ends up being. So you end up with 22 protection in terms of expansion, which is pretty strong. Additionally, with this particular one, I took an Awake Azzy, so an Awake expander. You have to be really careful with this particular chassis. I don't think you can blind expand with it. I know it looks very strong, but I've definitely had it get killed or rout in expansion. This one's already got a limp. But the Awake definitely helps with expansion. And additionally, our scales aren't that bad. So we've thrown Cold for Heat, and we've thrown Growth for Death. So our income's not going to be as great. But, I mean, we still have okay income. And then we've got Luck, and we've got a few other scales. I do think you might want a couple of troop scales just to start out with, at least Order, so you can take better advantage of all the resources. And you can see how many we've got here. We do have a second fort online on turn 12. In terms of troop numbers, we've got 6 mages again, plus 178 corsairs. We've got 40 sacreds, and we have a lot of chaff from having what looks like pretty good expansion. 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27. So 27 province expansion, really good. This is probably something you could feel pretty confident taking into multiplayer and expanding reasonably well, probably getting a favorable border or two. Again, I'd just be careful with the Z. I wouldn't want him maybe bumping some Hellblessed thing. But yeah, so, I mean, this is pretty good. And again, you get Recruit Everywhere Sacred, so you'd really be able to pump out these Executioners with that invulnerability and roll with them. And they have a reasonably hard-hitting 22 damage attack. So, all right, you can see we've even taken a throne. So we'd had 10 poison resistance in this particular game. So we'd be resistant to foul vapors. All right. So I think that's good for this one. Let's go ahead and check out another build. All right, so we've got another expansion test here. So this one's with a Lich Queen. And this was before the nerf to Immortals pricing. But I think she was only 140 or 150 points for a while. So very cheap. So this would be an Immortal Soul Drain chassis. In terms of the bless, we've got magic weapons and invulnerability. So a similar sort of bless to the last thing, except now we've got magic weapons, which is pretty handy. Definitely a weakness. It's not a complete weakness for the Dark Elves. I mean, you've got Dread Swords, you've got these Doomfire Warlocks, but you don't have a lot of other magic weapons on the nation, so it is handy. You've got, or let's see, I've got 6 mages again. I've got 127 Corsairs and 22 Executioners. So this one didn't go as well. And that's because I've got this one researching. So we're up to enchantment 3. And I think I was doing this without trusty research, potentially. Let me check. Yeah, so just the Warhammer mod. So with trusty research, I probably could have used this Lich Queen to expand. Could have summoned some skeletons, maybe. Or at least, like, augment expansion. But, or done evocation, maybe. I don't know. But I've got her researching for now. The goal would be to get some either Skelly spam magic going for a first war, something like that, so she can help raid. So the expansion's a little bit weaker without the Awake, but it still should be okay. You can see we're still trying to make our way around this lake. We might have had some tougher indies in this one. But we've got 6, 9, 12, 15, 16, 17. So it seems in line with the first expansion. All right. Oh, okay. Sorry. Trying to cut out all the scrolling I do, trying to find the correct test game. All right. So here's another expansion test. So this one's a little bit different. For this one, we've got Unholy Weapons and Invulnerability 10. So in this one, the goal would be using being able to flex into the Witch Elves. Because if they do damage, then not only would you get the strong poison, but you'd also get the Unholy Weapons AP damage. So it would make them extremely killy. Also helps with these guys for trying to punch through armor as well. Now for this particular bless, I took a fountain. It looks like we have more mages this time. We got a multi-hero. So we're at 7 mages. We're looking at 189 Corsairs and some other stuff. Made it all the way down into Urik's cap circle, apparently. Oh, how many sacreds do we have? Looks like we don't have very many. Or I'm blind. Okay. So let's see. So it's not too bad. Maybe we're just turning on production. Unfortunately, we haven't had the money to get a fort up yet. It looks like we're building one, but we got going a little bit later. So this one maybe hasn't gone quite as well. So let's go ahead and check out the next test. Okay, so here we go. Got the next one pulled up. So looks like we've done some more expansion here. We did get an indie attack, and now we're starting to get some more scale. So we're taking death, misfortune. Looks like we've got neutral temperature, although we're in early year 1, so maybe we've taken heat even. In terms of the bless, we're doing Unholy Weapons, which isn't quite out yet. I think it's in dormant. We've got defense skill, strength +4, righteous wrath, and combat speed 30%. So for this one, let's say I didn't bother filling in the recruitment, but we've got 6 mages again, 123 Corsairs, but we do have 20 Dark Shards. So not a ton of troops. I don't see a fort up either, but we are building one, so that's good. We do have 2 Corsair-Coves, which is pretty nice for money. 3 Corsair-Coves. Yeah, so that's really nice. They don't say anything on them, but theoretically they give me 30 gold. I wish it said it though. It'd make me feel more confident that I'm actually getting it. Let's see. So yeah, I think this is so this bless is designed around maybe trying to kill a lighter Khorne bless or Chaos Knights with a light bless. You've got all the AP damage from Unholy Weapons on the Witch Elves. So again, that Poison Blade with the Unholy Weapon. Then you've got 2 of those attacks, and you've got Strength. So they're Berserker 3, so they'd be at 17 damage as soon as they got blessed. And then with this, they would be at 21 damage. So now we're definitely in the territory of doing chip damage. And then with Righteous Wrath, they'd get 3 more. So they'd be at 24 damage, and then they should be regularly hitting. And then they poison their target, and they do the AP damage from unholy weapons. So the Witch Elves would be extremely killy at that point. So that's kind of the idea behind that build. And then let's go ahead and pull up the next test. Oh, I guess in terms of provinces, we've got 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. So okay expansion, not great. Looks like we got hit by an indie attack though. So yeah, those misfortune scales, got to pay that price. But yeah, let's go ahead and jump into the next test. All right, so here's the next one. And this build should look familiar from the pregame overview. I think this is close to the build we're attempting to run. So we're making a variety of stuff. Now, in terms of units, we've got 8 mages this time. We do have a little bit fewer troops. It looks like 140 Corsairs. But we've started making some stuff. Are we building a fort, though? Yeah, over here. So we've got a fort going up. It looks like it's just going up. All right. In terms of the expansion, we're at 3, 6, 9, 12. That's pretty weak expansion. It's difficult getting enough money on this particular build to have good expansion. And oh, it looks like we're also getting attacked. So it might have been a little bit better, but this build is specifically geared around Khorne and trying not to die to... It would die to Khorne in a first war, but maybe not a second war. As soon as there's, I think, 3 or 4 forts up, you should be able to make enough Witch Elves to kill just about any sort of Khorne sacred that they make and trade into them, and they're a lot more expensive. And then with all your other stuff you can build as Naggarond. Hopefully you'd be able to take on Khorne at that point. I generally speaking, I'd rather just run the full scales and then try to come up with a magic solution. But I don't take Hellblesses very often. And this isn't really a Hellbless, but Naggarond really likes scales. So I did kind of want to try a bigger bless on Naggarond to see if I could get value out of these sacreds. So that's what we've got here. And I'll go ahead and pull up the next one. All right, so this is the last one I ran. And okay, this looks like the actual build because I've got the scales as well. It's turn 12. Again, we've got a huge ocean though, but we've done 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 16, 17. So it's a little bit better. Looks like we bounced off some elephants and they got killed by a huge Airmore stack. In terms of recruitment, we've got 6, 9, 10 mages, 11 mages, which is phenomenal. It seems like we've gotten a 3 mages from events though. So generally it would be around 8. Unfortunately, our Corsair numbers aren't up there. We're only looking at about 67, but we do have 25 Witch Elves and 31 Executioners. So we have a lot more Sacreds in this particular game. And you can see the bless here, the +9 strength and righteous wrath for +12 total, which on the Witch Elf with Berserker is +15. So they'd be hitting for 29. That should punch through almost anything in the game, including most thugs, in terms of protection at least. And so 29 damage, and then they apply their poison to lower the stats on whatever they're hitting, and they should just be very killy. So that's kind of the idea there. And yeah, I think that's it for going over the expansion testing. I forget if I went over... Yeah, I did go over provinces. So I think we're good for this. So next up, I'm going to take a look at the Khorne matchup specifically. I did a little bit of testing around that. So let's go ahead and take a look. Okay, so I pulled up one of the tests I wanted to run. So I've got a bunch of these chosen knights. They have 22 prot on for the knight and 21 prot for the mount. Give me 1 second, the AC just kicked on. Okay, so I'm back now. So we can see magic attacks for the Juggernaut. And then there's a lance used for the first strike, and then an axe for the knight. I've got 2 blocks of knights, and I've got 2 blocks of witch elves. So we'll see how we do. Now there are more witch elves than knights. Oh, I guess I should point out the blesses. So for this particular Khorne bless, I'm running Fortitude, Hard Skin, and Unholy Weapons. And for the Witch Elves, I'm running the bless that I'm actually going to run. And so you can see with Righteous Wrath, they go Berserk when blessed. Witch Elves always die, so you should always have Righteous Wrath. You can see they hit for 29, and then they've got the poison. So if I turn this on, we do see a fair amount of poison ticks on some of these knights. So for instance, this guy's attack skill is dumpstered because of it. And I believe that we also do slashing damage, so we'll even punch through things like kite shields. So just very killy. They're also berserk, so they're not going to run. They're literal glass cannons that will just keep whirlwinding into the juggernauts. Now, juggernauts are tough, so they do win this battle. On, I think, this patch. No, they do win. Alright, so they killed 170 witch elves with 50 chosen knights. However, a chosen knight costs 150 gold, and a witch elf costs 22 gold. So even if you're running 3 to 4 witch elves, and again, these are recruit anywhere sacreds, and a chosen knight and chosen warrior can only be recruited in the capital. So as soon as you get 3 or 4 forts up, you can create a number of witch elves that will likely kill any block of Khorne sacreds. So that's kind of the idea there. So you can see here we've got 4 forts up, and this would be a very sad Khorne player who would likely have to back off. So in this case, whoops, don't want to pull that up. Give me 1 second. All right, and let's see. So in terms of the witch elves, yeah, so you can see it's still a really tough matchup, but it becomes doable. It's kind of the point here. And I was trying to pull up a calculator. Okay, that's what I was trying to do. Oops. So 150 times, I think we killed 41. 40, maybe as high as 45, but we'll do 41. So we killed 6,000 gold worth of Hellblessed Khorne units at the cost of 3,700 gold worth of eminently replaceable Naggarond units. So that's kind of the idea there. All right. And let me swap that back to the game. There we go. Rather than screen capture. And all right, so I've got a second test brought up. Let's go ahead and test this. So this should be our bless. Did I not bring a prophet to bless these? Oh gosh. Oh, so this is testing. Fortunately, we do a terrible job with the, should have a prophet. A stack like this would have a prophet. So this is regen fortitude against Dread Knight. So I want to see if scales is an option. And we're not going to do attack rear because I want to see how the units match up. But we do get a little bit of a wraparound. You can see just how tough these juggernauts are, especially with regen. So again, regen and fortitude. Pretty affordable Khorne bless, to be honest. And so these guys are 150 gold. A Dread Knight is 75 gold. So I really need them to be able to handle maybe like a 2 or 3 to 1 ratio for it to be worth it with scales. So we did slightly better than a 2 to 1 ratio, and we lose 39 and kill 9. It's not great. I'll just put it that way. It's it could potentially be doable, but it's not great. And there are things that Khorne could do to buff protection that would make it a lot more difficult. So this wasn't very confidence inspiring for me. And then let me pull up another one. All right, and I've got another one pulled up. So this is Witch Elves again. Probably a variation on the Khorne Bless. We have a line this time for the Juggernauts. Might be a double line. Unholy Weapons, Natural Protection, and Fortitude again. It's just a mob of elves. And it does look like we lose again. We lose 175 elves, so 3 to 1. But we do kill 34 of the Juggernauts. Or up to 34. So not great, but it's doable. Let me just double check the bless here. See if it's the bless that we ended up running. No, this is with, all right, so this was a test. I wanted to see if I could get some of my scales back. So I was trying it with, instead of +9 strength, I was trying with +5 strength, and then I happened to have an extra bless point, so I was like, well, I don't want my angry elves to be sleepy, so I'll give them that extra point of undreaming, but But yeah, this was, I think for a second war it'd be hard to mass this many elves. So this is what kind of convinces me to go for a +9 bless. Okay. Okay. And so this is the final test I'm gonna do. So you notice it's a little bit different composition. And this is maybe like a more realistic army that you might fight, except without the mage support again, because I didn't feel like scripting it. But what we've got here are some Juggernauts, some Chosen Warriors, and then a number of additional Chosen, like the non-sacred Chosen Warriors. And what we're going to do here is, again, test versus Witch Elves, but this is after the start of the game. So this will be testing against Khorne's actual bless. So I wanted to see how relevant my build was, or how well it might do. So this is kind of like the capstone for this particular episode. So this is the actual bless that if we were to fight Khorne, we would actually end up fighting. Oh, and then do I forget to bless them? Come on, buddy. He doesn't even cast it. What did this guy do? He's just not doing anything? Alright. Maybe in this replay, I guess. I might have to reset up this test then. I've never seen a prophet just sit there and not do Divine Blessing. Okay, let me set up a new one. Okay, and I'm finally back. I've got another test set up. Hopefully we get Divine Blessing cast this time. Wave of Rage. Oh, that's fine. So we've got a line of Juggernauts, we've got a line of Chosen Warriors, and we've blessed this time. So in the game, Zan has managed to acquire I think the Throne of Fire, which gives +3 attack skill. And then his bless has come online. Part of it was dormant, and he's come out with draining weapons, so vampiric weapons, which recently got a little bit of a buff. He's got Undying, Enchanted Blood, and Fortitude. So 2 very heavy blesses, a fair amount of regen and life steal, a lot of damage reduction, extra hit points to regen back out if they get below 0, and then additional attack skill, which Dark Elves aren't that hard to hit, so that won't be super relevant for this. And then we've got Scarbrand going ahead and jumping in as well. So we'll see how the Witch Elves hold up here. You can see just how beastly Scarbrand is. He's got this Carnage Axe, which does a small AoE, does fire damage over AoE 1, also does armor piercing damage, Burning Brass Axe, 2 additional attacks with additional fire damage added, and then a pretty hefty gore. So I think he can kill probably 5 Witch Elves a turn based on how the targeting works. And he's got Fear 10, not relevant in this case. And then a whole bunch of other stuff. He's got this Bless on him. So pretty beastly. And then I went ahead and brought this other hero. So 65 hit points, which with 19 protection because he has the Mark of Rage. Or no, I think it's just maybe a bunch of Berserk and then natural protection. Yeah. So, and then he's got also a big fear effect. So he's landed on the Prophet. There is a little bit more leadership though. Ooh, gets Demon Smited. And we can see that the Witch Elves do indeed hold up. They need about, let's see, this was 50, this was almost 70. I guess 75, we'll call it 75. And against 225. So that's about 3 to 1. So with about 3 to 1 odds, we do hold up okay. You can see, like, if Scarbrand had a bunch of gear on him or Blood Beast, like, they'd probably do significantly better. Mage support would make a big difference, but again, like, we could also do mage support stuff, and I'm mostly testing just the basic blesses against each other. So I know in a particular matchup if I need to bring a bunch of magic to try and tilt the balance. So that's kind of what we're seeing here. Is I need about 3 to 1. And I'll go ahead and see you in the next one. But yeah, wanted to kind of show off the pregame testing and then the actual blast we ended up running into. And I think it shows why it was important to maybe test against that blast a little bit. So hope you have a good one and take care. Later.